The ship was quiet. It was always quiet now. Ho stood at the observation window and looked out into the endless dark. Behind him, 12,000 people slept in their small rooms, ate their small meals, and tried to forget that they were the last of their kind. 3 years ago, there had been trillions of humans spread across dozens of worlds. Now there was only the Hangul 1 ship, drifting through space like a leaf on a black ocean. He pressed his hand against the cold glass. Somewhere out there, Earth was still burning. They had made sure of that. They did not just defeat their enemies, they erased them. The door behind him opened with a soft hiss. Ho did not turn around. He knew the sound of those footsteps. "You should sleep," said Jin. She walked up beside him and looked out at the same empty view. "The council meeting is in 4 hours." "I know." "Then why are you here?" Ho was silent for a long moment. "I keep thinking about my daughter," he finally said. "She was on the colony ship Sunrise. When they came, I ordered her to run. I told her I would find her." He closed his eyes. "The Sunrise was destroyed 2 days later. I found out from a broken transmission." Jin said nothing. There was nothing to say. Everyone on this ship had lost someone. Most had lost everyone. "I made her a promise," Ho continued. "And I failed. I cannot fail these people too." Jin touched his arm gently. "Then come to the meeting. I have something to show you, something that might change everything." 4 hours later, the council gathered in the ship's central chamber. It was a small room with metal walls and hard chairs. 30 people sat in a circle, the elected leaders of humanity's remnants. They looked tired. They looked afraid. But they also looked determined. That was the only thing keeping them alive. Ho took his place at the head of the circle. "We are here to discuss our future," he said. "Doctor has made a discovery. She will explain." Jin stood up. She was not a tall woman, but when she spoke, people listened. She had been one of Earth's greatest scientists. Now she was simply trying to keep her people from dying in the dark. 3 weeks ago, my instruments detected a signal," she began. "At first, I thought it was an error. The signal is impossible. It is older than the universe itself." Murmurs spread through the room. An older man named Dong, the ship's chief engineer, leaned forward. "That cannot be right. Nothing is older than the universe." "I know," Jin said, "and yet the data is clear. The signal comes from a region called the Hollow Expanse, a place where no stars exist, no planets, no light, just emptiness." She paused. "And something is alive in that emptiness, something that has been waiting for a very long time." A young woman stood up. Her name was Shin Bai, and she was the ship's historian. She had spent her life studying dead civilizations. Now she studied them to find hope. "I can explain more," Bai said. "For 20 years I have been translating ancient texts from extinct species. Stone tablets, metal plates, crystal recordings. They come from worlds that destroyed long before they found us." She took a deep breath. "All of these texts mention the same thing. They call them the primordial beings, the sleepers, the ones who came before." "Before what?" someone asked. "Before everything," Bai replied. "Before the first star was born, before time began. They are older than the universe because they existed before the universe existed. They live in the spaces between reality, waiting in the dark." The room fell silent. People exchanged looks of confusion and fear. "Why would we seek them?" Dong asked. "What can they do for us?" Bai's face was serious. "Every species that found them disappeared from history, but here is what I do not understand. They did not die. They simply stopped being part of the story, as if they moved beyond it." She looked at Ho. "Maybe they were destroyed, or maybe they were saved. We have no way of knowing." Ho stood up slowly. He looked around at the faces of his people, the last faces of humanity. He saw fear, but he also saw something else. He saw hunger, not for food, but for hope, for any chance, no matter how small. "Let me tell you where we stand," he said. "They are hunting us. Our fuel will run out in 18 months. We have no home, no allies, and no future. If we stay on this course, we will die. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. He let the words hang in the air. So I ask you, what do we have to lose? No one answered. Exactly, Ho said. We have nothing to lose, we are already dead. The made sure of that when they burned our world. His voice grew stronger. But we are still here. We are still breathing. And as long as one human heart beats in this universe, humanity is not finished. He pointed toward the observation window. Out there, in the darkest place in existence, something is waiting. I do not know if it will help us. I do not know if it will destroy us. But I know one thing, I would rather face the unknown than wait here to die. A young pilot named Park once stood up. He had been quiet throughout the meeting, but now his eyes burned with something fierce. I was at the fall of Earth, he said. I watched our planet die. I have spent 3 years asking myself why I survived when so many others did not. He looked at Ho. Maybe this is why. Maybe we survived to take this chance. One by one, others began to stand. Dong, Bai Jin, more and more until the entire council was on their feet. Ho felt something he had not felt in 3 years. Hope. Then it is decided, he said. We set course for the hollow expanse. We will find the primordial beings, and we will ask them for help. He paused. Or we will die trying. Either way, we will not go quietly. That night the Hangul changed direction. It turned away from the familiar stars and pointed itself toward the emptiness, toward the dark, toward the unknown. Ho stood at the observation window again, watching the stars slowly drift away. Jin joined him. Are you afraid? She asked. Yes, he admitted, but I am more afraid of giving up. My daughter believed in me. My people believe in me. I will not let them down again. Jin nodded. Whatever we find out there, we face it together. Ho looked at her. For the first time in 3 years, he smiled. Together, he agreed. And the Hangul sailed into the dark, carrying the last hopes of humanity toward something older than time itself. 6 months passed in the darkness. At first, the journey felt almost normal. The Hangul moved through space as it always had, passing distant stars and empty planets. People worked, ate, slept, and talked. Children played in the corridors. Life continued. But then the stars began to disappear. Park One noticed it first. He was a pilot, and pilots knew the sky better than anyone. One night, he looked out the window of his small room and counted the stars. The next night, he counted again. There were fewer. It is not your imagination, Jin told him when he reported his observation. We are entering the hollow expanse. The stars are not disappearing. We are moving away from them. Soon, there will be no light at all. She was right. Within 2 weeks, the last star faded from view. The Hangul was now surrounded by complete darkness, not the darkness of night which always had some light hiding in it. This was true dark, empty dark, the kind of dark that had existed before the universe was born. People began to change. It started small. A woman said she heard whispers when she walked the corridors alone. A man swore he saw something move in the corner of his eye. Children woke up crying, saying that the dark was looking at them. One felt it too. He would lie in his bed at night and feel like something was pressing against the walls of the ship. Something huge, something patient, something waiting. He went to Shin Bai. If anyone understood what they were facing, it was her. The ancient texts talk about this, Bai said. They sat in her small room surrounded by data tablets and old papers. They call it the Watcher's Gaze. The primordial beings are aware of everything in their domain. They know we are here. They are observing us. That does not make me feel better, one said. Bai smiled sadly. It was not meant to, but there is something important in the texts. The beings do not judge by strength or power. They judge by essence, by what a species truly is. She looked at him with serious eyes. Whatever we show them, that is what they will respond to. One thought about this for a long time. What did humanity show? After everything they had been through, what were they? He was still thinking about it when the ship's alarms began to scream. Dong ran through the corridors, shouting orders. Something was wrong with the engines. Power was draining from the ship at an impossible rate. Systems were failing one by one. "It does not make sense," Dong said when Ho arrived in the engine room. "The power is not being used, it is being taken. Something is pulling energy out of our systems." "Can you stop it?" Ho asked. Dong's face was grim. "I can try to slow it down, but if this continues, we will lose life support in 3 days." Ho made a decision quickly. "Use everything we have. Shut down non-essential systems. Reduce heat, reduce light, reduce everything. Keep the engines running and keep our people alive. That is all that matters." The next 3 days were the hardest of the journey. The ship became cold and dark. People huddled together for warmth. They ate cold food and drank recycled water. Children cried and parents held them close. But no one gave up. One found himself sitting with Bai during the darkest night. They shared a small blanket and talked in whispers. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Something I have never told anyone." "Of course." He took a deep breath. "During the fall of Earth, I was ordered to join the defense fleet. My commander told me to fight, but there was a transport ship full of civilians, families, children trying to escape. They had no escort. I left my post. I abandoned the battle to protect them." He expected her to be shocked. Instead, she just listened. "I saved those people," he continued. "But because I left, the defense line broke faster. Maybe if I had stayed, more soldiers would have survived. Maybe we could have held longer." His voice shook. "I have spent 3 years wondering if I made the right choice, if I am a hero or a coward." Bai was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You chose people over war. You chose life over death. How can that be wrong?" "Because we lost," one said. "Because everything I tried to save was destroyed anyway." "Not everything," Bai gestured around them. "Some of those people from that transport ship are on this vessel right now. They are alive because of you." She put her hand on his. "You did not fail, one. You survived, and you helped others survive. That matters." One felt tears in his eyes. For the first time in 3 years, he did not feel ashamed. On the 4th day, something changed. Jin burst into the command center, where Ho was monitoring the ship's failing systems. Her eyes were wide with excitement. "The signal," she said. "It has changed. It is not just a pattern anymore. It is a rhythm, a heartbeat. We are close." Ho felt his heart pound. How close? Hours, maybe less. Before he could respond, another alarm sounded. But this one was different. This was the warning for incoming ships. "Contact," the navigation officer reported. "Multiple vessels coming fast." He looked up with fear in his eyes. They found us." Ho's blood went cold. How had they tracked the Hangul into the void? The answer came over the communication system. A voice, cold and cruel. "Human vessel, you have led us on a long chase. We are impressed by your persistence, but the hunt is over. Surrender and your deaths will be quick. Resist and they will be slow." Ho looked at the screen. 5 warships were approaching. The Hangul had no weapons, no shields, and barely enough power to keep the lights on. There was no way to fight. There was no way to run. But there was one choice left. "How long until we reach the signal source?" he asked Jin. "If we push the engines to maximum, 20 minutes. And they will catch us in 15. Ho closed his eyes. 15 minutes of life. That was all they had left. 15 minutes to reach something that might not even help them. He opened his eyes. "Maximum speed," he ordered. "Everything we have." "The engines will burn out," Dong warned. "We will have no power left." "Then we will have no power." Ho's voice was firm. "We did not come this far to stop now. We are humanity's last hope, and hope does not surrender." The Hangul surged forward into the dark. Behind them, followed, weapons charging. One ran to the pilot station. His hands moved across the controls, pushing the ship faster than it was ever meant to go. The hull groaned. The engines screamed, but the ship flew. "Come on," he whispered, "come on." Around him, people gathered in the corridors and common rooms. They held each other's hands. They prayed to gods they had almost forgotten. They watched the darkness outside and wondered what waited at the end. 12,000 humans, flying toward the unknown. The weapons began to fire. The first shot hit the Hangul's rear shields, which immediately failed. The ship shook violently. People screamed. Another shot struck the hull, tearing open a section of the cargo bay. 5 minutes, Jin shouted. 5 more minutes. Ho gripped his chair as the ship shook again. He thought of his daughter. He thought of Earth. He thought of all the humans who had lived and died throughout history. "We are almost there," he said. "Hold on, just hold on." And then suddenly, the ship stopped firing. One looked at the sensors in confusion. The enemy vessels were slowing down. They were afraid. He looked out the forward window and understood why. Ahead of them, the darkness was moving. Something was rising from the void. Something so large that it made the stars seem small. Something that had been sleeping since before time began. The primordial beings were waking up. And humanity had found them. The structure was impossible. One stared at it through the observation window and felt his mind struggle to understand what he was seeing. It was not a building. It was not a ship. It was something that existed in ways that should not be possible. Parts of it seemed to fold into themselves. Angles that looked straight became curved when he looked at them too long. Surfaces shifted between solid and liquid and something else entirely. It hurt to look at, but he could not look away. "The cradle," Bai whispered beside him. "The ancient texts spoke of this place. It is where the primordial beings have slept since before the universe existed." Behind them, the ships held their position. They had stopped attacking the moment the structure appeared. Even the most brutal warriors in the galaxy knew when they faced something beyond their understanding. Ho gathered the leadership team in the command center. The Hangul was damaged and nearly out of power, but they had arrived. That was what mattered. "We need to make contact," he said. "Someone has to go inside." "I will go," Jin said immediately. "The signal, I have been tracking it for months. I understand it better than anyone." "I should go too," Bai added. "I can read the symbols. If there are messages or warnings, I can translate them." One stepped forward. "You will need a pilot. The shuttle bay is damaged, but I can still fly." Ho looked at the three of them. Then he nodded. "I am coming as well. If we are going to ask these beings for help, it should be their leader who asks." Admiral Dong started to protest. "This is not a discussion," Ho said firmly. "Prepare the shuttle. We leave in 10 minutes." The shuttle was small and battered. It barely had enough power to reach the structure. But one guided it carefully through the strange space around the cradle, avoiding areas where reality seemed to bend in dangerous ways. There, Bai pointed to an opening in the structure. It looked like a mouth, or a door, or both. One flew inside. The interior was even stranger than the exterior. They floated through corridors that changed shape as they passed. Gravity pulled in different directions at different times. The walls were covered with symbols that glowed with soft light, the same symbols Bai had spent her life studying. "I recognize these," she said, her voice full of wonder. "These tell the story of everything, the birth of stars, the rise of civilizations, the death of worlds." She touched one of the symbols gently. "They have been watching us, all of us, for billions of years." The shuttle emerged into a vast chamber. And there they were. The sleepers. They were beings of impossible scale. Each one was larger than a planet. Their bodies seemed to be made of darkness itself, darkness that moved and breathed and lived. They had no faces that humans could recognize, but there were eyes. So many eyes. Eyes that held the light of dead stars. Eyes that had seen the beginning of everything. Most of them were still asleep. Their massive forms drifted in the emptiness, ancient and patient, but one of them was awake. It turned its countless eyes toward the tiny shuttle. One felt his heart stop. He wanted to run, he wanted to scream, but he could not move. None of them could. Then the being spoke. It did not use sound. The words appeared directly in their minds, clear and undeniable. "Little flames, you have come far." The voice was neither male nor female. It was older than such things. It sounded like the echo of the first moment of creation. Ho forced himself to speak. "We are humans," he said. "We come from a world called Earth. Our people have been destroyed. We are the last survivors." "We know what you are," the being replied. "We watched your species take its first steps. We watched you reach for the stars. We watched you fall." "Then you know why we are here," Ho said. "We need help." The being was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was something like curiosity in its voice. "You are not the first to seek us. Many species have found their way to this place. Some begged for mercy. Some demanded power. Some tried to take what they wanted by force." Jin spoke up. "What happened to them?" "They were found wanting." A chill ran through all of them. "Tell us, little flames, why should we help you? What makes you different from all the others who came before?" Ho thought carefully. He knew that this moment would decide everything. The wrong answer would doom humanity. The right answer might save them. But he did not try to be clever. He did not try to impress. He simply told the truth. "We are not special," he said. "We are small, we are weak. We have made many mistakes. We have hurt each other and ourselves. We have done terrible things throughout our history." He paused. "But we are also capable of love, of sacrifice, of hope. We build families, we create art, we dream of better things." He looked directly into those ancient eyes. "We came here because we refuse to die. Not because we think we deserve to live, but because we choose to live. Every human on that ship has lost everything, but they keep going, they keep hopping, they keep fighting." His voice grew stronger. "That is what makes us human. We do not give up. We do not accept defeat. Even when everything is lost, we find a way to continue." The chamber was silent. The primordial being studied them with its countless eyes. Then it laughed. The sound was unlike anything they had ever heard. It was the laughter of something that had seen the birth and death of 1,000,000,000,000 stars. It echoed through their minds and shook the very fabric of reality around them. "All things refuse to die," the being said. "All things fight to survive. This is not special. This is the nature of existence." Ho felt his hope begin to fade, but then Bai stepped forward. "May I speak?" she asked. The being turned its attention to her. "Speak, young one." "You are right," Bai said. "All things fight to survive, but humans do something more. We remember, we carry our dead with us. Every person we have lost lives on in our stories, our memories, our hearts." Her voice was steady despite her fear. "We are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for everyone who came before us. Every human who ever lived, every dream they ever had, we carry all of it." She gestured to her companions. "This man lost his daughter. This woman dedicated her life to knowledge. This pilot gave up glory to save strangers. And me, I have spent my life studying the dead because I believe their stories matter." Tears formed in her eyes. "We do not just refuse to die. We refuse to let anything be forgotten. That is human. That is what we are." The primordial being was quiet for a very long time. Then it spoke again, and this time its voice was different, softer, almost gentle. "In 10 million years, we have seen countless species come and go. Some were powerful, some were wise, some were beautiful beyond imagination." It moved closer to them. Despite its terrifying size, one no longer felt afraid. "But none of them ever carried their dead the way you do. None of them remembered so fiercely. None of them loved so desperately." The being's eyes seemed to glow brighter. "You are small, little flames. You are brief. Your lives are over almost as soon as they begin. and yet you burn so brightly." Ho held his breath. "Will you help us?" The primordial being considered the question. "We do not interfere in the affairs of young species. This is not our way, but—" It paused. "We would know you better. We would see what you truly are." Around them, the chamber began to change. The other sleepers were stirring. Ancient eyes were opening throughout the vast space. "You will be tested," the being said. "Each of you will face a trial, not of strength or power, but of essence. We will see into your deepest selves. We will know your truths." Ho looked at his companions. They were afraid, so was he. But they nodded. "We accept," Ho said. The primordial being's countless eyes flickered with something that might have been approval. "Then let us begin." The darkness rose around them. The chamber dissolved, and each of them fell into their own personal infinity, facing trials that would determine the fate of humanity. Ho opened his eyes and found himself standing on Earth. But this was not the burned Earth he remembered. This was Earth as it had been before the war, green and blue and full of life. He stood in a city square surrounded by laughing people. Children ran past him, chasing each other. Somewhere, music was playing. His heart ached with longing. He had forgotten how beautiful it was. "Father!" He turned. His daughter stood before him, alive, whole, smiling. She was wearing the same dress she had worn the last time he saw her. "This is not real," he whispered. "Does it matter?" She took his hand. Her touch felt warm and solid. "You can stay here. You can have everything back." Behind her, the scene shifted. He saw himself as an admiral again, leading the human fleet. But this time, the war was different. In this vision, humanity won. They were crushed. Human ships filled the galaxy, conquering world after world. "You could have this," his daughter said. "Victory, revenge, everything you lost returned to you." Ho watched the vision carefully. He saw human soldiers marching across planets. He saw alien cities burning. He saw prisoners being executed. He saw humanity becoming exactly what they had fought against. "This is not victory," he said slowly. "This is just a different kind of defeat." His daughter's smile faded. "But you would survive. Your people would survive." "As monsters," Ho shook his head. "I have seen what hate does. It destroyed the souls long before they destroyed our world. If we become like them, then we are truly extinct, even if our bodies live on." "Then what do you choose?" Ho thought about the 12,000 people waiting on the Hangul. He thought about what kind of future they deserved. "I choose to find another way," he said. "A way that lets us survive without losing who we are, even if it is harder, even if it seems impossible." His daughter looked at him with eyes that were not her eyes, ancient eyes that had seen the birth of stars. "And if there is no other way?" "Then we die as humans," Ho replied, "not as the monsters our enemies wanted us to become." The vision dissolved around him. His daughter's form faded away. But before she disappeared completely, he heard her real voice, the voice he remembered from before the war. "I am proud of you, Father." And then he was back in the darkness, alone with his choice. Jin found herself in a library. It was not a normal library. It stretched in every direction, endless shelves filled with books that contained everything that had ever been or ever could be known. The knowledge of 1,000,000,000,000 civilizations waited on these shelves. A figure appeared before her. It wore no face, but she knew it was one of the primordial beings. "You have devoted your life to knowledge," it said. "Here is all knowledge, every secret of the universe, every mystery solved, everything you ever wanted to understand." Jin felt her heart race. This was everything she had ever dreamed of, answers to questions that had haunted her for decades. "But there is a price," the figure continued. "To hold all this knowledge, you must give up something. You must give up wonder." "I do not understand." "Wonder is the feeling of not knowing, the joy of discovery, the excitement of mystery." The figure gestured to the endless shelves. If you know everything, you will never feel wonder again. You will never be surprised. You will never experience the happiness of learning something new. Jin walked along the shelves. She pulled out a book at random and opened it. Inside were the answers to questions she had struggled with for years. The formulas were elegant. The explanations were perfect. It was beautiful. But as she read, she realized something was missing: the thrill of discovery, the satisfaction of figuring things out herself, the joy of the journey. She closed the book. "Knowledge without wonder is just data," she said. "It has no life, no meaning. We do not learn because we want to know everything. We learn because the act of learning makes us feel alive." She placed the book back on the shelf. "I refuse," she said. "I would rather know a little and feel wonder than know everything and feel nothing." The library began to fade. The figure watched her with something like respect. "Few have made that choice," it said. "Most are consumed by their hunger for answers." "I am not most people," Jin replied. "I am human. We do not just want knowledge, we want the experience of gaining it. That is what makes us who we are." The darkness took her. One woke up in the cockpit of his fighter ship. He knew this place. He knew this moment. It was the fall of Earth. Outside his window, the planet was dying. Ships filled the sky. Human vessels exploded one after another. Somewhere below, his mother and his friends were still fighting. "Pilot 1, his commander's voice crackled over the radio. "Return to formation. We need every ship." But he could see the civilian transport below. Hundreds of families trying to escape. No escort, no protection. He had lived this moment before. He knew what he had chosen, but now he had to choose again. "I am sorry," he said into the radio. "I have to help them." "If you leave, you are a coward, a traitor." One flew toward the transport ship anyway. He protected it through waves of enemy fire. He shot down fighters until his weapons ran dry. He used his own ship as a shield when he had nothing else left, and when it was over, the transport escaped. Hundreds of lives saved. But the defense line broke because he was not there, and thousands more died. The battle froze around him. A voice spoke from the emptiness. "You have chosen this path before. You will choose it again. Why?" One looked at the frozen scene. The dying planet, the burning ships, the desperate people. "Because I could not live with myself if I did not," he said. "But others died because of your choice." "I know." His voice was heavy with grief. "I think about them every day, but if I had stayed in formation, those families would have died instead. There was no good choice. There was only the choice I could live with. And this is the choice you can live with." "Yes." One closed his eyes. "I am a pilot. My job is to protect people, not just soldiers, all people. When I saw those families, I could not abandon them, even if it meant being called a coward, even if it meant carrying this guilt forever." "Then what are you, a hero or a coward?" One opened his eyes. "I am neither. I am just a man who made a choice, the same choice I would make again, every time." The battle faded around him. The voice spoke one last time. "That is what makes you human. You choose and you own your choices." The darkness welcomed him. Bai stood in a vast empty space. Before her, images floated in the air. Humanity's history from the very beginning. She saw ancient humans huddled around fires. She saw great civilizations rise and fall. She saw wars, genocides, cruelties beyond imagination. She saw the worst of humanity. Slavery, torture, hatred, brother killing brother, nations destroying nations, species destroying their own planet. The images would not stop. Every terrible thing humans had ever done played before her eyes in endless, horrifying detail. "This is what you are," a voice said. "This is the truth of your species: violence, greed, destruction." Bai felt tears streaming down her face. She wanted to look away, but she forced herself to watch. "You are right," she whispered. "We have done terrible things." then how can you claim to deserve survival? The images changed. She saw humans helping each other, strangers risking their lives for strangers, parents dying to protect children. Small kindnesses, quiet heroisms, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Because we are also this, Bai said. We are capable of great evil, but also great good. We hurt each other, but we also heal each other. We have the capacity for cruelty, but also for mercy. She looked at both streams of images, the darkness and the light. We are not one thing or the other. We are both. We carry our sins with us, but we also carry our hopes. Every generation tries to be better than the one before. We fail, often, but we keep trying. Is trying enough? Bai thought about the 12,000 people on the Hangul. She thought about everything humanity had been through. She thought about the future that might still be possible. I do not know, she admitted, but I believe it is. Because the act of trying, of reaching for something better, that is what defines us. Not our failures, but our refusal to accept them as final. The images faded. For a moment, she stood alone in the empty space. Then the darkness began to fill with light, a gentle, warm light that felt like hope. You have seen the truth of your species, the voice said, and you have not looked away. That is rare, that is valuable. The light grew brighter. You are ready. One by one, the 4 humans emerged from their trials. They stood together in the vast chamber of the primordial beings, changed in ways they could not yet understand. The ancient entity watched them with its countless eyes. You have passed, it said, all of you. In 10 million years few have done so. Ho stepped forward. What now? The primordial being moved closer. Around them, the other sleepers had fully awakened. The chamber hummed with ancient power. Now, it said, we give you our gift, not weapons, not power, something far more valuable. We give you the truth. And the universe opened itself before them. The truth was overwhelming. Ho fell to his knees as knowledge poured into his mind. Beside him, the others did the same. For a moment that felt like forever, they saw the universe as it truly was, not just the stars and planets that everyone knew, but the deeper reality beneath it all. They saw the cracks, the hidden passages between stars, the invisible currents of energy that flowed through space. The universe had a structure that no species had ever understood, a pattern that connected everything to everything else. And they saw what lived in the spaces between galaxies. The hunger between. It had no true form, or rather, it had too many forms. It was darkness that ate light. It was emptiness that consumed matter. It was so ancient that even the primordial beings spoke of it with something like fear. The vision ended. Ho gasped for air, his mind struggling to hold onto what he had seen. What was that? He managed to ask. The primordial being floated before them, its countless eyes gentle now. That is what they have been running from, it said. For millions of years. They conquered not because they wanted power, they conquered because they were terrified. Jin wiped tears from her eyes. I do not understand. They are the strongest empire in the galaxy. What could they possibly fear? The hunger between feeds on civilizations, the being explained. The larger a species grows, the more attention it attracts. They learned this truth long ago, when their ancestors encountered a civilization that had been consumed. They saw what was left, empty worlds, dead stars, absolute nothing. The being's voice became softer, almost sad. They believed that if they controlled everything, they could hide. If there was only one civilization, one empire, one identity, then the hunger would have nothing to focus on. They would be invisible. But that is madness, Bai said. You cannot hide from something like that. No, you cannot. They have spent millions of years running from a threat they can never escape, and in their fear they have destroyed countless species. They have caused suffering beyond measure, all because they could not face their fear. Ho stood up slowly. His legs were unsteady, but his mind was clear. You said you would give us the truth. Is this it? Is this our weapon against them? The primordial being moved closer. Truth is the most powerful weapon in the universe, it said. Lies create empires, truth destroys them. They have built their entire civilization on a lie, the lie that conquest can save them. Show them the truth and they will crumble. How, one asked, how do we show them? We will change you, the being said. Not much, just a small adjustment to how you see. You will be able to perceive the universe as we do, to see the cracks, the paths, the hidden things, and you will be able to share that vision with others. Ho thought about what the being was offering. You want us to show the what they are running from. You want them to face their fear. Yes, they have been running for so long that they have forgotten why. They have taught their children to hate and conquer without ever explaining the truth. If you show them, if you force them to see what they have been avoiding, their unity will break. And what happens then? Jin asked. The primordial being's eyes flickered with something that might have been respect. That depends on them and on you. Some will fall into despair, some will go mad, but some, perhaps enough, will finally stop running. They will learn to face their fear instead of spreading it to others. Bai stepped forward. You said every species that found you disappeared from history. What happened to them? The being was silent for a moment. Some were destroyed, they could not handle what we showed them. Their minds broke and they faded away, but others, the being's voice became strange, almost warm. Others grew beyond this universe. They learned to live in the spaces between. They became something new, something that the hunger could not touch. And you will not tell us which path we will take, Ho said. No, that is your choice to make. We give you the gift. What you do with it is up to you. Outside the cradle, the fleet waited. They had watched the Hangul disappear into the impossible structure. They had felt the awakening of powers beyond their understanding, and they were afraid, more afraid than they had been in centuries. But fear made the dangerous. The fleet commander spoke to his officers. We cannot allow them to leave. Whatever they found in there, we must destroy it, charge all weapons. When they emerge, we fire everything. His officers obeyed without question. They always obeyed. That was how they survived, through absolute obedience and absolute force. Inside the cradle, Ho made his decision. We accept your gift, he said. Whatever happens, we will face it. We did not come this far to turn back now. The primordial being studied him with ancient eyes. You are brave, little flame, or perhaps just desperate. Sometimes those are the same thing. It moved forward, and the other sleepers moved with it. They surrounded the four humans, their massive forms blocking out everything else. This will hurt, the being warned. Truth always does. Light exploded from the primordial beings, a light that was older than the universe itself. It poured into the humans, filling them, changing them, making them more than they had been. Ho screamed. So did the others. It felt like being born and dying at the same time. Every part of their beings was torn apart and rebuilt. And then suddenly it was over. They lay on the floor of the chamber, gasping, alive, different. Ho opened his eyes, and the universe opened with them. He could see it all, the cracks in space, the paths between stars, the hidden currents that connected everything. It was beautiful and terrible and overwhelming, but he could bear it. Somehow he could bear it. Go, the primordial being said. Its voice was distant now, like an echo from very far away. Return to your people, face your enemies, show them the truth they have been running from. And remember, you are not just the last humans. You are the first of something new. The sleepers began to close their eyes. They were returning to their eternal slumber, their role in this story finished. Do not disappoint us, little flames, the being said as the darkness took it. You have come so far, go farther. And then they were alone in the cradle, four changed humans holding the fate of their species in their altered minds. We need to go, Jin said. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. They are waiting. One nodded. Can you feel it, the paths, the cracks? I can see a way through their fleet, a way they cannot follow. Not yet, Ho said. He stood up, and for the first time since Earth fell, he felt no fear. We did not come here to run. We came here to end this. He looked at his companions. They had been through so much together. They had passed trials that would have broken anyone else. They had earned this moment. 12,000 people are waiting for us, he said. 12,000 humans who refused to give up. They trusted us to find a way, and we have. He walked toward the shuttle. The others followed. They think they are strong because they are afraid of nothing, but we know the truth now. They are afraid of everything. Their entire empire is built on fear. He turned to face them. Today, we teach them that there is something stronger than fear. What? Bai asked. Ho smiled, a real smile, the first one in 3 years. Hope. They boarded the shuttle and flew toward the exit, toward the fleet, toward the battle that would decide everything. The endgame was about to begin.